to Black Boss, where we highlight and celebrate entrepreneurship in the Black community. I'm your host, Michelle, and today we have the owner of Rebrand Career Consulting, Brittany Bronson. How are you, Brittany?
I am awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I love your platform and what you're doing to shine a light on so many successful Black businesses.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. And I was going to say, I thought a little harder about my lighting today. My lighting has been a little bright in other videos, but
Okay.
Chocolate Sister to Chocolate Sister, I was like, let me pull this together.
Thank you. Right, because we need special stuff. Okay, I got a light over here. I got a light. Like we need it to really work for us. So thank you so much.
Because we glow. So the
Right.
melanin, you gotta get the melanin from all sides.
Absolutely.
So, but yes, you're beautiful. I wanted you to know that. But every
Thank
time I look
you.
through your pictures, I'm like, she's such a pretty girl. So, tell us about your business.
Sure. So I am Brittany. I own Rebrand Career Consulting. We are a premium professional development firm that focuses on supporting Black and Brown women in their career, salary, as well as academic goals. And what we really try to focus on is improving the confidence of Black women, improving the negotiation skills of Black women, and ultimately developing documents that provide a level of security in their own professional contributions that they can ask for what they deserve.
Awesome, awesome. I love that.
Thank
That's
you.
great. So, if you could tell us, what are some details people miss about their own resumes that kind of block them out, that mess up the chances?
Sure. So I always start with encouraging people to recognize that it is so important that you highlight your skills and your achievements in your resume. Your day-to-day responsibilities are awesome. I'm sure they're great to hear about, but ultimately, employers are really looking for someone who can come in and drive results, move things forward, and ultimately ensure that the values of the company are going to be met, not simply your ability to type words per minute is great, but what was the benefit of your ability to type that fast?
Gotcha. Okay. So focusing in more on your achievements than your day-to-day skills.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So how did you go about identifying the needs of your market and satisfying those needs?
Sure. So when I started resume writing, I started with my friends from law school.
Okay.
I had a core group of friends who I attended law school with before I left, and they were in the place where they were beginning to get into the interviewing space. And when they started with their interviewing space, it was like, I don't even have time to look at a resume. I know you've been in the workforce at this point for 2 years. Can you look over my resume for me? And it started with me just from my history being in HR, looking at their resumes, rewriting them, sending them back to my friends. And then as they got different jobs at varying firms or nonprofits, they would refer me to other people who asked, hey, do you remember you got your resume done? Who'd you have do it? Eventually, I started to recognize that my network by nature was Black women, and my network was Black women who had been pretty much told that we have to shrink ourselves in professional spaces, that we don't want to be too haughty, and that if we come across too arrogant, it is not going to work in our favor. So I started really developing out resumes specific to support Black women to kind of go against the narratives that we have when we're navigating professional experiences, particularly in corporate spaces.
Got you. Okay. So this actually kind of goes into my next question. Maybe you can elaborate more on it. But you've said, this is a quote by you. You said your motivation is providing Black and Brown women the professional development to begin closing the wage gap. Why has this become a motivating factor for you?
Absolutely. So I love research by trade. I have an undergraduate degree in sociology, which focuses really on
Me
a lot of
too.
data. Yeah,
Yeah.
it focuses on a lot of data and just kind of looking through patterns. There is tons of data that just talks about the discrepancies in Black women's pay, particular to any and every other not demographic that you can think of, whether that's white women or that's white men, even Black men. Black women are significantly paid a little less. And it's not often okay, because what starts out as like, oh, it's just a little less in my first year of my career. We end up set back so far,
Wow.
tens and 20,000, 30,000, $50,000 over the course of our career, all
Wow.
because we aren't paid fairly at the front end. And so much of not being paid fairly on the front end is, how do you highlight your skills? How do you highlight that you're action oriented? How do you highlight a particular training, skill, experience that you have, so that when you walk into an employer, they can really see your value?
Right. So really, it's you're teaching people how to really market themselves. Really,
Hmm.
it seems like we have a lack of information maybe in this area, just coming down to how resumes are written, keywords, understanding the values of the company, and applying those things to writing a resume. So you're really bridging the gap.
Absolutely. And we have to,
Yeah.
because I remember, for me personally, I have to be honest, it was a white woman who bridged the gap for me. It was a white woman in corporate America who, she had attended the law school that I had left. And so she took a particular interest in me, and she supported me. She provided critique of my resume. She kind of also served as an ally for me. She definitely made sure that my resume got in the hands of partners that she knew. And what I began to recognize is that cultural capital not only exists, but that Black women don't have enough of it.
Okay. For people who don't know what cultural capital is, could you explain that concept?
Sure. Cultural
Thank you.
capital is the idea of, we all know what like capital is in our bank account, right? Like how wealthy you are, what land do you own, what money do you physically have access to, even credit, right? Like your credit
Mhm.
worthiness.
Mhm.
Cultural capital speaks to you, how connected you are to certain communities, certain stakeholders, and certain leaders. So when we think about a person who is a more affluent person, they may have a parent who's a business owner, and therefore, because they have a parent who's a business owner, they may know more people who make 6, 7 figures. Because of that, they may travel more, they may go to museums more, they may get to do, go to more banquets, go to more galas. Those are things that you think of when we talk about cultural capital, and how much cultural capital do you have. So I do a lot as it relates to understanding privilege, particularly even for Black women. When I do diversity and inclusion workshops, I always lead with the fact that, as a Black woman, I have cultural capital that I know a lot of Black women do not have. And therefore, it is my job, when I'm in these spaces and places, to bring on other Black women who may not have an opportunity to come into these sorts of doors, or to advocate for those needs when I'm in that space, because I have the cultural capital to be there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I said, thank you for that explanation and kind of bringing it full circle that way. That's awesome. Um, I had a question, but I do hear you mentioning that you were in law school. What
Yes.
was your original reason for going to law school?
Sure. So I originally went to law school because I wanted to work in policy.
Mhm.
After going to Temple for sociology, I kind of saw that social workers don't make change.
Mhm.
People who are changing laws and policy do. So I moved from social work to sociology major, and ultimately intended to go to law school to write policy for large municipal cities. And it
Okay.
took 1 year of going to law school for me to realize that I don't have to be here to do this. I just have to know how
Okay.
to read laws well and
Right.
write well. And so I then went to my master's program that was focused on organization development and leadership. And that was
Okay.
when I got my first position working in a policy position as an assistant managing director for the city of Philadelphia. It was
Mhm.
in that role when I realized so much of writing policy is just about reading, understanding, and having lawyers proof what you read and then pushing it
Mhm.
through.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. So in I guess making a transition from law school to what you're doing now, what's the most fulfilling part of your business?
I love the fact that I get to talk to Black women and I don't have to code switch. I think, and for Black
Mhm.
women, we are in so many spaces where we have to code switch. I love that there is no client who has to take her headscarf off when we have a consultation. There is
Mhm.
no client who feels like she has to tell her baby be quiet, because we're
Mhm.
on a call. I tell Black women, show up with your fullness. I've been a single mother before. My hair is not always done.
Mhm.
And furthermore, I know what it's like when you are a single Black mother really trying trying to do what you have to do to rise through the ranks. I've had women who were saying, you know, I'm taking this consultation in the bathroom because I'm on my lunch break at work. And I'm like, that's totally fine. I've taken a whole
Mhm.
job interview in the bathroom because, you know, I was at
Mhm.
one job trying to manage another one. And so it's completely
Mhm.
okay to show up with your fullness. And I love that I get to show up with my fullness and that I encourage Black women to show up with their fullness every day.
I love that answer. And I hear it, I hear you say two things. It's so interesting how these two things come together because you mentioned the social capital and that you feel you have more social capital than you see a lot of Black women. So having that, and then also being able to provide a space where Black women don't have to code switch, they can show up and be themselves. And for those two things to weigh out, and for you to be able to, I guess, in a way, not leverage it. I think leverage is the wrong word, but just be able to provide that space
Yeah,
for those two things to happen. I think that's incredible because
thank you.
how many spaces are really like that?
How many you know what I mean? Especially when we talk about professional development, because so much of
Hmm.
professionalism, you know, is rooted in white supremacy. Let's call it out. When we think about straightening our hair, when we think
Yep.
about the sort of clothes that we wear, when we think about what's appropriate clothing, right? Like
Hmm.
that's really based on body type, that sometimes Black women just you know, genetically our bodies don't look a
Right.
certain way, right? And so
Hmm.
when we talk about some of these professional standards, they are rooted in white supremacy. And therefore, I have really candid conversations with Black women. Like, you know, it might take straightening your hair to get through the interview, but once you're
Hmm.
in there, girl, do whatever you want, you know? And so,
Right.
like, being able to have those sorts of candid conversations where I
Yeah.
do acknowledge systemic racism and oppression. And
Right.
I'm not going to tell you that it's not in corporate America, but I am going to tell you this is how you get in the door, get your check, do what you
Mm.
got to do, and move on to your next opportunity. That's a really important part that I think is missing. You know, I know so many university college centers, they don't touch on the fact that there is going to be discrimination in the workplace because you're a Black woman.
Mm.
You
Not
know,
at all.
let's really talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't sugarcoat it. I'm very honest. I encourage my clients to be ready for it. That way you're less triggered when it happens. I encourage my clients
Mm.
to utilize the EAP if they need to vent or to find their own Black woman therapist, because I'm not a therapist. You can vent to me. You can tell me how frustrating it was. I can probably share some experiences that were just as frustrating. But at the
Right.
end of the day, I go to a therapist to talk about my work stress.
I hear that. Okay. Yeah, yeah. That thank you for that. I was about to say, just wrapping my mind around, the place that you hold in that space. I feel like it's such it's like a beacon of light. Like, come this way, guys. Like I
Thank
can
you.
kind of show you like you have the right skills, but you're not packaging it the right way. So let me go ahead and let you know to get to the next level. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Thank
That's
you.
fantastic. So for anyone looking to transition to another job, what do you have available to assist them?
Everything.
Okay.
So I offer from 15-minute one question consultations to
Wow.
30-minute full out career consultations where we develop out a full out career plan for the next 2 years.
Okay.
I offer, if you decide, you know what, for me to get to my next career goal, I need to go to school. I write admission statements for clients. I write resumes for clients, cover letters for clients, upgrade their LinkedIn's. Mock interview prep. So if they are preparing to go for an interview, we do mock interviews together. I also provide salary negotiation support to clients. I also
Mhm.
offer job sourcing. So looking for a job is stressful. Finding that right job that aligns with your resume is stressful. So for many of my clients who purchase a resume service, they also purchase a position finding, package, which essentially takes the
Okay.
resume that I develop, aligns it to jobs that are both their industry and geographic interest, and pretty much says, here are 10 to 15 jobs that align with your resume that you should apply for immediately.
I love this business.
Yeah, thank you.
That is really, really cool.
Thank you.
Like you're because you're really on to something, which I'm sure by now with the feedback. I mean, I've been through your Instagram, I've seen the
Thank
testimonials and
you.
all that, but just the gratitude from the women who I've reached back out to, and I'm just thinking, that's such the career part is such a stressful part
Yeah.
for an adult. I was about to say, and for a Black woman, a single Black woman, a married Black woman, Black, same thing for Black men. It's just such a, it can become such a stressful uh, point
Yeah.
especially if you're not exactly sure how to navigate it or exactly what you're doing wrong. It's like you just keep hitting a brick wall. So to have somebody like you who's so informed, who's constantly researching, who's honest and authentic about what the experience is really going to be, that's incredible. That's
Thank
such a leg up. No
Thank
problem.
you.
That's such
And
a
that's
leg up.
really what I want to all my clients to walk away with. I want my clients to walk away with a leg up because let's talk about it. Nepotism is already happening. You're already competing against somebody's nephew
Facts.
who was told that they could get a leg up. Like we are already competing against nepotism. How do you make
Mhm.
nepotism work for you? I also advise my clients
Mhm.
on that. If it's an old professor, reach out to your old professor, get a recommendation
Mhm.
letter because you're interviewing somewhere where maybe they worked in the past or their wife works or they have some sort of relationship. Go listen, all that money you pay your university, one of those professors can write you a recommendation letter when you're applying to
Mhm.
a job. People forget I think Black women, moreover, we forget to utilize that cultural capital. We forget that
Mhm.
after we pay this school all this money, it should be nothing for us to ask a professor, "Hey, I'm interviewing for this particular job. I would love for you to highlight my research abilities. I would love for you to highlight my collaboration abilities. I'd love for you to highlight how innovative and creative I am as a
Mhm.
student leader, whether it's with
Mhm.
the organization or in the classroom." There are so many teachers who would not only love to do it. I've even had professors say, "I don't have any time to write a letter, but whatever you feel like you want to write about yourself, send it over. I'll put it on letterhead and make sure my name is on it." Because at the end of the day, if you
Right.
pass their class, you make sure they got to check that semester.
I hear that. Absolutely. So when it comes to cultural capital, what do you think are, because I heard you say that there's a lot of Black women who overlook the cultural capital that they already have. What do you
Yeah.
think are some of the overlooked cultural capital that people that Black, I'll say because this is Black balls, that Black people have in general?
I would definitely say your church community, right? So, like,
Mhm.
someone at your church community either owns a business, has an executive sort of position at a business. Your church probably has, like, I know for me, I attend E9, we're a mega church, but there are so many different ministries, whether it's the legal ministry, the teachers ministry, the grieving ministry. Like, there are so many ministries for so many things. Like, don't let it pass you by to connect with some people in a professional way, even through your
Mhm.
church. I'd also
Mhm.
say your alumni association, whether it's your high school alumni or it's your college or your graduate school alumni, connect with them. Find somebody in your alumni network who either went to somewhere you're interviewing, works there, knows somebody that works there. LinkedIn, your professional community, right? So if you are a
Mhm.
nurse in the city of Philadelphia, I am certain that there's a professional community of nurses of Philadelphia or nurses of Pennsylvania that you can tap into and find out about job openings. Or if you're interviewing somewhere, say, "Hey, I'm interviewing at Chop ENT. Does anybody work there? Can I talk to somebody about it?" Do not be afraid to tap into the network that you already have and to grow it. Like I mentioned, your
Mhm.
professors. I will go to my professors any day and be like, "I need a recommendation letter. Can I have this back within a week? Here's my resume. Here's what I want to highlight. Here's the job
Mhm.
description for the role that I'm interviewing for. Can you please
Okay.
craft a professional reference for me?" And they never have a problem. To that point, I'll also say that when you don't have cultural capital, create it for
Mhm.
yourself. I knew
Mhm.
I did not have cultural capital. I come from a working class family.
Mhm.
We my parents work hard, but
Yeah.
single mom who did whatever she had to do. But that doesn't
Mhm.
mean that, I had a ton of cultural capital. So I've always
Right.
tried to have good relationships with my professors because I
Mhm.
mean, it's nice to have colleagues, students, and I'm getting better now that I'm in my doctoral program with actually like
Okay.
conversing more with my colleagues. But I
Mhm.
always was worried about having a really great relationship with my professors because when it came time for recommendation letters, both for my graduate, my master's, and now my doctorate, it was no problem for me to ask for those things. And furthermore, another way to that you have cultural capital, your papers from school, keep those
Mhm.
papers. So many jobs
Mhm.
ask for a writing sample.
Oh,
You will need,
okay.
you will need it.
Yeah.
And even if a job doesn't ask for it, but depending on the type of job, just send it. Just send a writing sample because at the end of the day, showing that you'll do more, that you'll do, you'll go the extra mile is always a really great thing that can be applauded.
Yeah. Yeah. Free game. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Free
I'd
game. Free
also say
game.
as it relates to cultural capital, it's okay to interview somewhere and not get the job. Stay in touch with them. Like, that's a form of cultural capital. When I was younger
Mhm.
in my career, I would interview places and I would not get every job. I'm very honest. I have not gotten every job I've interviewed for before.
Right.
Um, I stayed in touch with the recruiters. I stayed in touch with the hiring managers. And when they moved to a different organization and they were looking for someone, I got one of those backdoor phone calls of like, hey, we're interviewing for this role. I know that I want to give it to you,
Wow.
but I have to post it ethically.
Right.
I'm going to post it. I'll tell you when to apply. Don't be afraid of
Mhm.
rejection. Because rejection can also build your cultural capital. You want to have an interviewer in your cultural capital.
Rejection can build your cultural capital. That's a quotable.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, I
It
mean, because
can build
now that you're explaining it, like I'm getting it. I'm receiving the information and getting it, and that's a
it.
quotable. Absolutely. So I know you mentioned the different services, and if you don't have anything to add to the to this question, then we can move on to the next one because you did a very good job of explaining the different services that you had. But my question was going to be, what does the rebranding process look like?
Sure. So all of our purchases, all of our services start with a purchase. That's what I tell everybody. Like, the first step is to invest in yourself. Um,
Mhm.
All of our services start with a purchase. Shortly after purchase, you will receive a questionnaire. This questionnaire is very in depth and it asks questions about your professional, academic, as well as personal history, as well as your goals. This
Mhm.
helps me to identify where there may be gaps, where I can fill in any holes, and where I just may have some other questions. Shortly after that, within 2 weeks, we're a little backed up considering COVID and my kids are home.
Yeah.
All of this within 2 weeks, you receive the first draft of your new resume, cover letter, professional statement. And sometimes I'm very transparent. I have some clients who the first draft, they're like, boom, this is it, girl. Thanks a ton. Nice knowing you. And then I have some clients that be like, let's do some edits. And it's completely fine because we do
Okay.
3 sets of complimentary edits, like no
Okay.
problem. It's a writing process. It's a draft process that goes into any
Mhm.
writing product.
Mhm.
I've never gone over 3 edits. Not to say that I
Okay.
never will, but at this point in my career, between the questionnaire, my experience in HR, as well as just supporting clients in a variety of industries, we have not gone over 3 edits. I
Mhm.
also have a 90-day guarantee that if you are not interviewing within 90 days, please do not hesitate to come on back and we will hold both a
Okay.
consultation, review the previous roles that you've applied to, as well as rewrite your resume to tailor it to the roles that you're now interested in.
That's awesome.
And in 3 years, we've only had 2 people come back within their 90 days and say, oops, girl, I ain't interviewed nowhere.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm about to say that's definitely a testimony to the work you're putting in. And
Thank
all, I
you.
mean, you really have, with all the experience you're talking about, you have some really pivotal things that you've been able to bring together to form this business.
Yes.
And you're very informed from, all different sides of what needs to be accomplished. And yeah, the more you talk, the more I'm convinced that you're the person for this job.
Thank you.
That's
And I'm
awesome.
not perfect every day. Like, let me show you. I use this book all the time. Let me get it because it's always on hand.
Okay.
Where is it? This is called The Young Entrepreneur's Guide to Starting and Running a Business. I
Okay.
bought this book on Amazon. I think this book might have been like $25. And I didn't read this book cover to cover, but what I will say is I'll go in the index, and if I'm struggling with like templates or click-through rates or
Mhm.
um whatever it is, I don't think I have all the answers. But what I always say makes me a great business owner is that where I don't know the answer, I'm definitely going to tap into some resources, whether it's leaning on other business owners that I've become friends with, paying for a consultation from
Mhm.
somebody else who's killing it in business, or just
Okay.
referencing materials myself. Like, I really feel that I didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs. And even if my child is an entrepreneur, I'm not tripping.
Right.
But for me, what I recognize is because there is that limited cultural capital as it relates to running a business, I have to
Mhm.
create it. I have to make business friends. I have to read books. I have to join
Right.
in on webinars where I'm falling short. Sometimes the same way people invest in their resume, I got to invest in a business coach or a business consultation. My
Yeah.
accountant got me right together. He was like, "Oh, girl, I'm gonna have to go ahead and get on retainer because I can't do this once a year with you no more." And
Got
I've had
you.
to
Yeah,
invest
yeah.
in those things because if you want it
Right.
done right, if you want a strong reputation, if you want a reputation that even when you mess up, you get it right, It's
Yeah.
going to take some investment. That's another thing with business. I'll say, I have not always been perfect. I've been
Mhm.
behind on deadlines. I
Yeah.
done wrote stuff and a client was like, girl. But what
Mhm.
I've committed to in my business is getting it right. I always lead with an apology. I still feel like for the most part, the customer is almost always right.
Right. Got you. Well, it doesn't lead me into my next question. Maybe I'll jump it forward because you're already heading that direction. So entrepreneurship comes with wins and losses. Losses, I like to say losses are lessons because wins are more celebration, but losses are like, okay. So comes with wins and losses. What has been your greatest win and what has been your greatest loss that's led to your greatest lesson?
I would say my greatest win is my reputation. One of
Mm.
the things with resume writing, I'm sorry, guys, my twins just walked in.
No,
But
no problem.
one of the greatest wins is that I do the work. You know what I mean? Like, I never worried about going viral or having a huge business or having, 19,000 followers. Like, I never worried about that. I worried about writing resumes that got Black women jobs. And because I
Right.
worried about doing the work, my reputation
Mhm.
spoke for itself.
Right.
That's my greatest win is that people could say a lot, right? Like, they could say
Yeah.
I'm bougie. They could say, I think I'm whatever. They could say I
Mhm.
done spent a lot of money in a pandemic. They can even
Mhm.
say I done sent documents late, but they cannot say that I don't get Black women jobs. And at the end of the
I hear
day,
that.
that's the premise of my business, and therefore that's my
Yeah,
win.
I hear that. Well, if they saying all that, they need to get the hell out your business because
I'm just saying, but
there's a lot to be said.
and that'll lead into like my next loss/lesson is that
Mhm.
um you have to be ready, or I'd rather had to be ready for like these sorts of blessings. And what that looks like is like recognizing that when you do have a platform of 19,000 people, it can get really overwhelming sometimes. It's easy to get
Yeah.
stimulated. So the greatest lesson I've had to learn is that everything isn't for social media. I always say to some of my own business clients that like I talk about things when I'm through them. I don't talk about them while I'm going through them because
Right.
it's so hard to manage your emotions while going through something in front of 19,000 people online. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's a lot
Yeah.
easier to
And
share.
you
You
don't
know
have
what,
to.
guys? Last week I experienced this and it really
Mhm.
hurt my feelings. Let me tell you how I got through it.
Right.
That's been like the greatest lesson that I've learned. I'll also say I had to learn to accept criticism. It was very, very hard. And I've worked with my therapist on this. When you are a business owner, you have to remember that they are not criticizing, like nobody is criticizing Brittany. But when you're an entrepreneur and you're a solopreneur and like this is your business, like your face is your business, a
Mhm.
critique of your business does feel like a personal attack.
Yeah.
For me, I had to learn that this is not about me. That's why my business is a LLC. Like this is
Mhm.
totally not
Totally
even
different entity.
right. Like this is I could shut this down today. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like I
Yeah.
had to, and the biggest shame for me is I had to put me on payroll. You know what I mean? I had to realize, you know what? I'm on payroll too. You know what I mean? This
Right.
is really just a stream of income. This is not
Yeah.
all I am. Also
Right.
recognizing that like my business is not while my business is successful, that's not my greatest success in life.
Yeah.
Um and recognizing that I was a successful and a whole and a beautiful and a loving, nurturing mother, wife, and person before Rebrand
Yeah.
ever existed. And the day
Mhm.
Rebrand closes, I'm still going to be a loving, wonderful, supportive mother, wife, daughter, all of those things.
Yeah.
And so that has been the greatest lesson in it is
Yeah.
that when you get exposure, everybody ain't gonna sing your praises. You know what I
Right.
mean? Don't go
Right.
searching for
It
your name because
might
everybody
not go
don't
down
like
the way you
you.
think it will.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't even search my name no more. Like y'all got it. It's out. You know what I mean? Because you have to realize they talk about Beyonce. It's people out here who have
Oh,
comments
absolutely.
about, and when you realize that, like y'all talk about Beyonce, oh, I know y'all got some
Yeah.
heat for me.
I'm
And
not
once
off limits.
right. Once I realized that, I was able to not even look for critique no more.
Mm.
Do my best. And when I do make a mistake, own it. Like I said, I apologize a lot. I'd be like, oh, can I comp another service? Can I discount your service? There
Yeah.
have even been services where I've refunded the client and still provided the service because I
Mm.
recognize, Brittany, you took too long to do that. Like, all
Yeah.
right, now, girl, recognizing that even as a business, like I'm still servicing people. And when you're servicing people, you have to remember that like they're the consumer. You know,
Right.
I am in a service-based business, and therefore like customer service matters just as much as the resume does.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love your answer as far as the lesson that you learned, because it seems like your greatest lesson has been a lesson to maintain your own peace of mind through
Yes,
through
yes,
this process, and your own really the longevity of your business. Because if your business is stressing you out and it's causing you to be not
canceled.
peaceful, then right, I was about to say, how long can that really be sustained? So the fact that your greatest lesson is essentially how to emotionally sustain your business or emotionally sustain yourself and your own mental health long enough to pour into the business. That's great, because I absolutely agree. You're not your business. Like you have the skill, you have the talent, you work on behalf, but no. And it's wonderful that you know that all entrepreneurs so much more than what they've put into a business.
And
So
it took time. It took me
yeah,
getting criticized and going to therapy before my therapist was like,
okay,
okay, so close your business. You got a 9 to 5, right? You got your degree still, right? Like,
yeah.
what makes you feel like, and I had to even recognize that that is a privilege, right? That like at the end of the
Mhm.
day, if my business stressed me out enough, I would be at my 9 to 5, which I never left. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like I had
right,
2
right.
different jobs and interview for others since I've had a business and never,
Yeah.
the times when I've been unemployed and was just doing entrepreneurship, it was by choice. It's
Right.
never been a matter of I can't get a job or, I guess obviously by nature of the business, I've
Mhm.
never struggled with finding a job. And so my therapist always reminds me that like I come first and I'm a human. In the
Yeah.
same way I would quit any job that was stressing me out, why would I keep any business that had my edges falling out?
Right. Yeah, I hear that. I heard a Eric Thomas quote years and years ago, and he put an emphasis on, I don't have to, I get to. And
Yeah.
I think, that's kind of what you're explaining. You don't have to be an entrepreneur,
Right.
but you also have this calling inside of you, and this love of seeing Black women thrive and be able to feed themselves and everything off of what you're able to provide them. That keeps you going.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome. That's awesome. So, entrepreneurship can have its highs and lows. Are you ever afraid? And if so, how do you move past fear?
Oh my God. If I'm late on a document, I be scared. Okay. Like I'll be like, oh my gosh, you're failing. What are you going to do? You're so late with
Mhm.
this. For me, how do I move past it? I just pray. I pray,
Mhm.
I really ask God like to get rid of my anxiety.
Yeah.
Like I said, in customer service, it's service based, and so much of it is owning. Even if you weren't necessarily wrong, even I've had stuff go to a client spam. They filed a dispute with their bank, and so like I had to gracefully say, like, with all due respect, I sent this timely.
Mhm.
Here's receipts that it was sent. Please check
Mhm.
your spam. But like from that, I've had some clients who just canceled the dispute, and then I had other clients who refused to. And you know what? I went through the proper fashion, and the dispute was found in my favor. But I had
Yeah.
to get the confidence to do that. I didn't always have the
Mhm.
confidence to like challenge consumers in that way because I was so service oriented.
Mhm.
So I'll say that again, separating myself personally, like nobody is personally filing a dispute against me. They're filing a dispute
Mhm.
against a business because they
Right.
didn't like something with a business, and
Right.
I'm doing my due diligence as as an employee of the business. It's my job to respond to disputes,
Right.
and do so accordingly. And that's just it. And I walk away from it. I
Yeah.
also have just had to recognize that fear fear just holds me back. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like that anxiousness and that fear,
Mhm.
sitting around not scared to check my emails because I'm scared of what somebody said, it's just gonna make it worse. It's just
Yeah.
gonna be another day that they didn't get a response, right? Like, and who really wants
Right.
that? So it's been doing a
Yeah.
lot of that work of recognizing that, girl, you just gonna make it worse. You might as well go ahead in that email and see what they had to say.
Yeah.
But I'm human, and that's just the human part of experiencing anxiety and not wanting people to be disappointed with me.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense, and I identify as well as well. So my last question, because I don't want to hold you too long. I know you got a life. You are not just your business, Brittany. I get it.
Thank you.
So, my last question is: you mentioned confidence and building up your confidence. For any women out there who are lacking the confidence to move out of their job, or they just feel stuck, overwhelmed, whatever, what are your tips to growing that confidence to move?
I want to make sure I understand your question. When you say leave your job, you mean like for a better one or for entrepreneurship?
Either one. I mean, really just doing the next step, having the confidence to take the next step on their journey.
Okay. So for starters, I always, whenever women come to me and they be like, I'm about to just step out on faith and leave my job, I be like, girl, what if you gotta go to the doctor? Hold on now, sis. Okay, listen, because I got me a job with insurance. Okay, right. Listen, if an emergency happens, are you good? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And you know, I'm on my husband's insurance, but still, like, I
Yeah.
want no copay when I go in there. I don't want nothing, you know.
I
So
hear
I
you.
would first say, like, make sure that your affairs are in order if you are leaving your job. You know, when I
Mhm.
have left my job, I've been on my husband's insurance and I've had to save a certain amount before all of those things worked out. So definitely have a plan if you're going to leave your job. If you're talking
Mhm.
about taking that next step to the career, realize that like greater is on the other side of the door. It's
Mhm.
not like you're not stepping out to go get a demotion. You're
Right.
literally stepping out to get more. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And the worst thing that'll happen is that an employer says no, but you're not going to be further back than you were. You're going to be further ahead because, like I mentioned, cultural capital, you've now
Cultural capital.
interviewed with 3 different people who you didn't know before who are at the company that you're interested in working at, doing the work that you want to do. Now you
Right.
got 3 new people in your LinkedIn or that you can speak with or that you can ask for feedback on your professional experience or a professional resume so that you'll
Mhm.
know, next time what to do or say to get in the door. Um, I would say if fear is stopping you from challenging yourself to go after what you want, also pray on it. Like, I don't know what other people's religion might be, but I
Mhm.
know that I always have to pray on things, and I talk to myself a lot. I affirm myself a lot. Sometimes my husband be like, yes, and I'm like, no, this is me. This is just me in here. Like, I'm not talking to you.
Right.
I do a lot of self affirmation. I also do a lot of this is gonna sound funny, but I do a lot of like interviewing of myself, right? So like
Okay.
today I was in my car and I just was like, okay, I got to do this interview tonight. She's probably going to
Mhm.
ask me, tell me about yourself. I literally was just like, hi, my name is Brittany. I own Rebrand Career Consulting. We specialize in blah, 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 blah. Because the
Yeah.
more comfortable you get hearing yourself say it, it's going to
Right.
flow off your tongue. And when it flows off your tongue, that's confidence. That's
Yes.
confidence right there, right? Like
Yep.
you're not stuttering, you're not stumbling, you're not, forgetting or, oh, I'm sorry, let me go back. The more you
Mhm.
talk to yourself and speak out loud and affirm yourself, the more comfortable you're going to get with your career story, with your career journey, and where you want to be next.
Well, I was gonna say it don't sound funny to me, but that's only because I sat through this whole interview and I heard it roll off your tongue and it sounded very confident. So if anybody's having trouble with that, including myself on different things,
You
it
got to get in
clearly,
for and talk to yourself.
yes, it's clearly effective. It's
Yes.
clearly effective. Okay, so last two things. One, I have to have you say your name and say that you're a Black boss, because that's Black boss tradition.
Awesome. So I am Brittany Bronson and I'm a Black boss.
Yay. Okay. And the last thing is, where can the people find you?
I'm all over. So you can find me on Twitter at bossy_Brits. I'm also on Instagram with the same handle, but you can also find my business handle at rebrand.c. Yeah, son. Oh, you ran so fast. Could you run back out? Okay, sorry.
You're totally fine.
I'm on, sorry, Instagram at rebrand.career.consulting. If you're interested in reaching out online and finding out more about our academic, business, and professional services, you can check out rebrandcc.com.
Awesome. Thank you. See how well that rolled off. Y'all better talk to yourselves.
Y'all
Bring me
see
out
these
here and
kids
give a
trying to
secret.
distract me. Kids be trying to block your blessings. Trust
Right.
me, you can talk to yourself through children. That's like the ultimate obstacle course. So, it'll get better. Don't even worry about your kids. Just like keep talking. Just talk through them. They're totally fine.
I dig it. Well, Brittany, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's my pleasure to learn more about your business. I'm so happy to know that, there's somebody in this space who cares about this, because it's extremely, extremely important. But, one person can't do everything. So I'm happy that this is your focus. I'm happy that this is what you're tackling. And you seem to be tackling it in a beautiful way, efficient way.
Thank you.
Yes, I was about to say, I really appreciate it. So you go ahead, take care. Tell the family I say hi, because I feel like they're right there.
No, it's okay. Everybody's all over. The pandemic, my work's all over. My work computer's right there. My kids, like, there's no turning anything off right now. I think I also want to encourage people to have grace with others right now. Not even just myself as a business owner. Like, I've definitely had clients where I was like, girl, did you forget we in a pandemic? But
Right.
beyond that, I've had to have grace with my own supervisor.
Yeah.
I've had to have grace with my child. I've had to have grace with myself. Have a little grace for yourself. Like, even if you are a business owner online right now, no client can purchase any new services until March 1st, because what I had to recognize is I've had an influx of orders for the first 10 days of February, and I don't want to be stressed out for the rest of this month. So I'm going to have some grace for myself, and I'm not going to worry about running up a bag or getting in that. Like, I don't care if I don't have a 5-figure month this month. What I care about is that I extended enough grace to myself in the pandemic that I was able to get a good night's rest.
Yes, maintain peace of mind.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I wish you nothing but the best, Brittany.
Thank you so much.
For the people who have already used your service, fantastic. If anybody is in need of your service, go find Brittany. Go find Brittany. I've seen the testimony. I'm about to say, it's not just me saying it either. I've read the testimonials there. So check out everybody seems very happy and pleased. So that's
Thank
fantastic.
you so much. I really appreciate your time this evening, as well as your flexibility. Thank you so much for your grace.
No problem. No problem at all. I was about to say, I know what I got into with, interviewing Black bosses. So this is one of the things. When I say I'm your biggest fan, I'm serious. But I say, I understand the hustle. I understand everything that goes into it, that entrepreneurial spirit, the day to day. So absolutely. It's been my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for carving out the time for me. I appreciate it.
Yes.
All right, Brittany. Well, take care.
Yes, ma'am. Have an awesome evening.
You as well. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right. Thank you so much to Brittany Bronson from Rebranding Career Consulting. It was my pleasure to have that conversation. It was very informative. Thank you so much, Brittany, for all the information you gave. Your heart, your passion comes through about what you're doing. And it's so cool to see a young Black woman with your professionalism, with your academic achievement, and also being able to still recognize your Blackness, and that we have a very unique experience. And that experience isn't always the easiest thing to navigate within a corporate setting. So the fact that you are there and willing to help navigate and really bridge that gap, it's amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Brittany. It's much appreciated. So that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. Please like, subscribe, share if you like what you're seeing. Head over to Black Balls Certified YouTube channel. Season 2 is up, and we're in the middle of season 2, so it's rolling. And also come celebrate with me over on Instagram, BlackBoss_certified. Thank you so much. That's been my time, guys. Peace.